all, welcome to Living Ardently. I'm your host, Adrian Giraldi. Welcome to episode 62, I think. Today we are here with another testimony episode, testimony time with a friend of mine, coming to share her testimony. So really excited. Sorry in advance if you hear a bunch of noise in the back of this episode. There's apparently doing some pressure washing in our driveway and some lawn work. So if you hear that, apologies in advance. Hopefully it doesn't distract you from this awesome testimony that we'll be hearing in just a little bit. So yeah, let's get into it. So today's guest is a good friend of mine. She is 6 feet tall, one of my favorite tall friends ever. She's a FOCUS Missionary at the University of South Alabama, formerly at Troy University, also in Alabama, and once got lost in the Istanbul airport and missed 2 flights, and her parents thought she was kidnapped. Please welcome my guest, Blair Harbison.
Hi. What a great story.
Yeah, let's lead with that. So tell me a little bit about, let us hear this story, how this happened.
So my senior year of college, my parents decided that it would be a great family trip to go to Israel for Christmas. Mm-hmm. And it was absolutely incredible. But that's a different story. So on the way over
there... So they were
right. Yeah, they were right about that part. But the flight to Istanbul from New York City is insanely long. I don't remember how long, but it was brutal. So we landed in Istanbul, and we knew that the next flight out to Tel Aviv was leaving in 20 minutes from the time we landed on the tarmac. It was cheapest.
Oh, okay. So you flew from Florida to there, and then...
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Florida, New York to Istanbul, Istanbul to Tel Aviv. So the next flight to Tel Aviv was leaving in like 20 or 30 minutes, something like that. And my dad was like, the second that these bus doors open, I need you to run to the gate. So I'm like, yes, of course, Dad. I will do what you asked me to do. So I run to the gate, and I turn around, and no one's there. I see the gate. Yeah, no, I lost my entire family. So I look at the gate, and I can see the plane just like leaving.
Oh, my God.
So I'm like, well, where'd my family go? So I go back the same way I came, back where the buses were. No one's there. I go back up to the gate. No one's there. I go and check the flights, realize the next flight to Tel Aviv is leaving in like 10 minutes. I'm like, that one's going to be missed too. So I'm just like walking back and forth in the airport. And at this point, it'd been like 45 minutes. And I'm like, okay, I'm in Istanbul alone. I have no idea where my family is. I know I'm supposed to be getting to Israel. So like, I'll just take my own flight to Israel. And yeah, I didn't know how to go about that. Everyone I tried to talk to didn't speak English. So like, there was no way that I could get any help. Yeah. I was like, am I going to have to like convert to Islam and move to Istanbul? Like, is this the next step? Yeah, it was a long period of time. Then finally,
how old were you at this point?
21.
Okay, so you're in college already.
Yeah, I'm an adult. Yeah, senior of college.
I didn't know. I'm like, man, if I was lost in a different country at like a high school age, like I would be crying.
But then I hear Blair Eugenia, and I was like, oh no, I know who that is. And I turned around, and my mom is red and livid, and my dad had clearly been like crying, so it was like backwards of the usual. We thought you got human trafficked or were being sold by Somali pirates.
Oh my gosh.
So
they missed it too.
Yeah. So then we caught the next flight out to Tel Aviv, and the rest was great. But that, I still haven't lived that down. They bring it up every Christmas.
That is amazing. So I thought that they had gotten onto the plane and you didn't. And I was like, wait, how did they get to the plane and you didn't if you're the one like running to get there?
Well, so here's the catch. Everyone else that got off that bus got ushered through security, because every time you land in a different country, you have to go through security again.
Right.
I somehow found a back door and bypassed security and got to the gate.
Oh my gosh.
So I kept bypassing security every time I went back, and my family was waiting in security the entire time.
Oh my gosh.
So, talk about dangerous.
Right.
It was just an open door with a stairwell. I was like, that makes sense. So I went up it.
Gotcha. So you cheated the system by accident, but it really didn't come to your advantage.
Yeah, I could definitely be like at international prison still for that one, I'm sure.
Maybe we shouldn't put this on the podcast. Just for your sake. That's amazing. That's so cool, though. That's an awesome a story to lead into. But to get the guest and get you to know you a bit better, we're gonna do a little rapid fire question if you're ready for that.
Let's do it.
All right, I'm gonna see. Okay, so these rapid fire questions are the questions like the set of questions I usually use for my rapid fire questions because they're just so fun and they always catch my guest off guard. So I'm gonna see how many times I can get you to stutter. Okay.
Oh boy, go ahead.
All right, here we go. Favorite holiday?
Stutter number 1.
Ready.
Probably Christmas.
Scale of 1 to 10, how good of a driver are you? Is negatives involved? I'm kidding.
Are we talking confident or are we talking safe?
Reality.
Probably like a 4 or a 5, if I'm being honest.
That is hilarious. All right, fill in the blank. Taylor Swift is...
The Queen.
Last song you listened to?
One of the songs on Folklore, probably.
Name a nickname your parents used to call you.
It depends on if I'm in trouble or not.
Istanbul.
Usually it's Blair.
Is invisibility or super strength?
Is invisibility a super strength?
No, invisibility or super strength.
Oh, invisibility.
Say a word in Spanish.
Hola.
Have you worn socks and sandals?
Of course.
I'm a missionary. Of course I have.
Yeah. It's part of the dress code.
Right. It's like if you apply for FOCUS and you don't have that in your wardrobe, you won't get accepted.
It's one of the prereqs.
Right. You don't have a hydro flask. I'm sorry you can't. Or an Nalgene. I'm sorry you can't be here. We think God's calling you somewhere else. If Voldemort hugged you, would you accept it?
Of course.
Is double dipping at a party ever acceptable?
Ew, no, that's disgusting.
Especially right now.
Yeah, keep your own to yourself.
Where would you want to live forever?
Colorado.
Are reindeers real creatures?
Yeah.
Yeah. Duh. What's the fastest speed you ever driven in a car?
I'm not putting that on the internet.
It's like 200 miles.
I whipped that Bugatti.
I used the entire speedometer. It was all the way on the right. I don't know if that's okay.
It was broken.
It was broken. Marvel or Star Wars?
Star Wars.
Oh.
I knew I was going to get a response from you in that.
I like both, so like it's hard. Good day, mate. Say good day, mate, in an Australian accent.
Yeah. Good day, mate. That just sounded normal, I think.
Paper or plastic?
Paper. It's biodegradable.
Are rats cute?
Are rats cute? Mice are cute. Rats are disgusting.
How many cups of coffee do you need per day?
None.
What's your ideal outside temperature?
Like 65 to 72.
Giving presents or getting presents?
I kind of hate both.
Really?
Yeah, that's like a long explanation that I can give, but I think I'd rather give.
Are you like, what's your love languages?
I don't know. Words of affirmation.
Not gift
like
giving.
Not gift giving.
That's for sure. You hate both of them.
I like being affirmed.
Words of affirmation. What's the definition of triskaidekaphobia?
The fear of chickens.
That's amazing. Oh, it's actually the fear of the number 13. Favorite carnival food. The only
Favorite
reason why I
carnival
know that is because I graduated in 2013 in high school. And
yeah.
Our shirt, there was a shirt that said triskaidekaphobia, and I was like, "Let's go, that's sick." And it was like and then it was a cobra. It was our school mascot was a cobra, so it was like triskaidekaphobia, and it's like just wrapped around that word, and it was.
Oh, that's pretty sick.
Yeah, I was like, wow, like okay, Park Vista, I see you.
Go off.
Climb a mountain or jump from a plane. You've done both.
I have done both.
I support that.
Am I supposed to pick one?
Yeah, one or the other.
I'd rather climb a mountain than go skydiving again. I'll only go skydiving again if I'm asked to.
Hey, we're gonna go skydiving.
Let's go.
It's like Hamilton. Let's go.
Let's go.
How long can you hold your breath for?
I don't know.
Let's see it.
No.
Like 10 seconds. That's what she says now. What sound does a seal make?
Or. Wait, that sounds more like a pirate. That sounds like a choking pirate. Or. No, R or. R. I don't
know. Would you rather wake up to an air horn blowing in your ear every day, or wake up to have to run 4 miles every day?
I'd much rather run 4 miles.
What?
Yes.
That's ridiculous.
I would punch whoever's blowing an air horn in my ear.
You get used to that.
You
Just
get
like you get used to your
miles, too.
alarms. I guess it's better for you. Dark chocolate or milk chocolate?
Milk.
Polka dots or stripes?
Stripes are cuter on outfits.
Yeah, you're wearing stripes right now. It's
I
getting
am.
louder and louder out there, y'all. So I'm so sorry about the lawn work.
I
you
can
gotta
hear it
hear
now.
that. You can hear
I
that,
can hear
right?
it now.
Okay. Ridiculous.
I think. Yeah, I think I can hear it.
Yeah. For journaling, paper or computer?
Oh, paper.
Last question is a very serious question. Would you rather come face to face with a hippopotamus or a giant cockroach? Both are in a bad mood.
Ew. Hippos can kill you like no other, but I'd much rather die from a hippo than a cockroach.
Right? Because the cockroach starts flying, it's game over. I'm going to just go ahead and die.
Oh. Ew, and it's giant so you can see all its details. Ew.
Well, one time I saw like 2 cockroaches, like, I guess they were mating. And I was like, what is that? Like, they were just like together and it looked like a 2-headed cockroach. So I was freaking out. I was like, oh my gosh, that's massive. And I
would have
wanted to
literally
cry.
set that on fire.
I haven't stepped into that room again since I've seen it.
I don't blame you.
Oh gosh, I am a bug. I have like a phobia to those kind of bugs. It's insane.
Triskaidekaphobia or whatever it was.
No, yeah, N13. Cool. All right, so okay. So that was our rapid fire question segment to kind of introduce you to the people. But let's get a little bit deeper to knowing you more. So how did we? Actually, let's go back. Like, how did we meet? Do you remember how we met? I know we went. I mean, we went to Ave, but like, what about Ave Maria? When was it? Do you remember?
I have a specific strange memory in my head of me sitting in the JP2 lobby and you barreling in and saying something very loudly, and then everyone like, Adrian, what's up? And I was like, hi.
The JP2
And then we just became
lobby.
friends. Actually, yeah, I studied in there all the time, and you would always come in, and I think that our friendship was just, it was from the JP2 lobby. I think I also remember you throwing fire or something at one point.
Throwing
Did you do
fire?
that? Were you a fire juggler?
No, I was the base of a fire juggler. They would use they would
same
jump on
difference.
my shoulders. And I was just like, please don't drop it. Please don't drop it. Me and Jordan were the bases, and I'm just like, oh my God, just don't drop it. Just anything you do. Like, you can just
That's
like
close
crack
enough
my
to the
neck,
throwing fire that you're counted.
Right. You're right. We're really living up our Samoan like heritage. I'm Filipino.
Your
I'm
ancestors would be proud.
I learned their heritage rather. I'm Filipino. So yeah, I can't remember. Like I was talking to a friend of ours, mutual friend of ours, back in yesterday, and I was trying to figure out like I can't really remember a lot of my first like initial meetings with people, unless it was like a huge thing. And so like I feel bad, but then there's some people who are just really good at like, oh yeah, like I remember exactly when we met. It was this day on this time, and da 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 da. And you said this to me. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't remember that. But okay, I'm glad that you don't remember well. I mean,
Yeah, no, I think I got to know you because everyone knew you.
thanks. Not wrong though.
Not wrong.
It's not hard to know everybody at Ave.
No, not at all. Especially if you're an extrovert, like you will know everyone within a couple weeks.
Right. Everyone thought I was running for something because I was friendly with everyone. I was like, no, I can't. I don't have the GPA to run for anything. I tried to be an RA and I didn't have the GPA for it, so not going for SGA or
Adrian
anything.
Giraldi, student body president.
Oh my gosh, no. I will leave that kindly to Mr. Akers. President Akers.
President Akers forever.
Akers 2020, let's go. Write him in.
The country would benefit greatly.
Honestly. So, what'd you call it? So that's why we went to college together. You graduated a couple years after me, and you decided to become a FOCUS missionary. And you're in your second year in, right?
Sure am. Those are all true statements.
All true statements. They're actually all false. Was my Troy University being in Alabama a true statement?
Yeah, you got that right.
Good, because I said that and I was like, wait, is it?
You said in Alabama?
That's amazing. And you got recently, like when I did my podcast interview with a Troy grad, Megan Wells, you got a little shout out there because I thought you might have known each other, but she graduated the same year you did, I think.
Yes.
And you became a FOCUS missionary after she had left. So
Yeah, so we just missed each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But some of your students knew. The people that you became friends with, or your disciples.
Yeah. One of the girls I discipled at Troy, Katie Lively, shout out. She sent me your podcast with Megan on it and was like, oh my gosh, I about threw my phone when I heard your name.
You're famous, Blair! You tell her you just went to college together and that's it?
Yeah. It's like, I promise you I'm nothing special.
That's hilarious. So we do these things. We do these podcasts, this testimony podcast, because like what Living Ardently has become is not just a topical based podcast where we talk about certain things. Though next week we have a podcast like that. We've become a podcast that shares stories of people, and we, really started these because I love sharing testimonies with others. I would, back at Ave, I would just go on friend dates and get, just hear people's testimonies. I just love hearing how God worked in people's lives. And so this was a way of like doing that and continuing that and recording these conversations, because I think vulnerability, one, is huge. As you guys might have heard in one of the most recent Q&A podcast, I talked about one of my favorite books, which is C.S. Lewis's Four Loves, where he says to love it all is to be vulnerable. And that my senior years, when I first heard that, it was like, wow, like, yeah, it's so true. Because if you're like friends, we become friends with people and we start sharing our hearts, and that's when we grow closer to them. And that's when a friend becomes like a best friend or a trusted friend, or like even people will even call them family, And so the goal is to be able to do that here on the podcast, to be able to help people become more vulnerable, be more comfortable with being vulnerable, because it's not like really, it's sometimes hard to be vulnerable with people because of maybe wounds from your past or things like that, or just never been vulnerable with somebody, so you would never know the difference, right? So yeah, that's why we do these testimonies. We kind of, we just want to share the lives of others so that it might inspire you and maybe maybe it inspires you to continue on your journey, or to continue your journey that maybe have been on pause for a while. So that's a hope, and so maybe inspire you to become a bit more vulnerable with people that love you, So let's just dive into it. Where were you born and raised Catholic, Blair?
Yes. So my mom's whole family has been Catholic for I don't know, since ever. My dad converted to Catholicism when I was 12. So I grew up in a household that was, I don't want to say half Southern Baptist because he wasn't very much practicing. And he'd go to Mass with us pretty often. But my mom was Catholic. Faith wasn't necessarily a center of our house. Sure. But my parents, they definitely did their best, and they chose to send us all to Catholic school because I don't know why I'm stuttering so much.
That's okay.
Yeah, so they chose to send us to Catholic school because I grew up on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and the education system in Mississippi is trash, for lack of better words. Yeah. So they knew that the best way that we can get a good education is going to Catholic school, and it definitely benefited all of us in the long run. Yeah,
that's awesome. So what kind of caused your dad to really become Catholic?
He went on a mission trip with our parish priest, good old Father McGrath, good old Irish man. Yes. He asked my dad why aren't you Catholic? And my dad's response was, I don't know. So then he asked my dad if he'd chaperone this mission trip for high schoolers. And my dad was like, sure, why not? So he drove the bus up to North Mississippi for the mission trip. And on that trip, I think that really planted the seed for him to go ahead and convert, because he saw how important it is to kids to have both parents of the same faith. So that's awesome. He entered RCIA shortly thereafter, and I remember when he entered the church. I remember that well. Didn't even know the gravity of it, but I do remember it. That's
so cool. And how old were you? You said you were 12 when you
I was 12.
Converted. That's awesome. The fact that you remember it, already speaks to the fact how important it is, to have family that that it's not a split family, half Catholic, half not, or whatever religion. It's hard, if somebody was a Christian in general, or a Jewish person, that's going to be really hard, or a Muslim and a Jewish person. It's going to be really hard to raise, the just the culture difference in it as well. So, it's really really, I think it very impactful for a kid to see both parents practicing the same faith,
Yeah, and I didn't realize how much it did affect me growing up, before he converted. But even when I was at Ave, taking my theology classes, I remember one of my professors would be like, oh yeah, and this is a Protestant teaching, And I'd be like, crap, like I still have Protestant theology in my head that I've just thought is truth like this whole time. I was like a senior and that was still happening.
That's awesome though.
Yeah.
And that's I think that is a testament to us as Christian, like our Christian like journey, right? It's like we're always going to be like learning new things and journeying through them, and you know, being with people through it all. So I think that's just the awesome part of it all, you know. And so when in your upbringing, did you did you really start to be curious about the faith? Like was it in middle school, high school? Obviously you had the option to choose Ave or not Ave, but you chose Ave. So when was this?
Yeah, so my freshman year of high school, I had a phenomenal religion teacher. She had just graduated from Franciscan University. Awesome. Very, very on fire, and she was the first person that I saw that was young and zealous for the faith. Mm-hmm. And she ended up becoming the basketball coach, and I played basketball.
What position did you play?
What do you think?
Point guard.
Clearly. I was post.
Yeah.
But
that's amazing.
Yeah, so she had that extra opportunity to invest, like both in the classroom and outside, in me. And I didn't really like care about the faith at all.
Yeah.
But as time went on, like especially in the classroom, I started realizing like the stuff that she was teaching. It was New Testament in light of the Old. So it was an Old Testament class, but it was sharing how each covenant is fulfilled in Christ.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. And
for a high school like class, that's awesome.
Yeah, for freshmen. Yeah.
For freshmen? That's insane. Freshmen. That's so cool.
Yeah, I was like, there's no way any person could have written this because this story's too intricate. Mm-hmm. And there's something about it that was just making my heart like catch on fire. So that really opened up the door. Then she invited all of us to go to Steubenville, Atlanta. But after practice one day, she's like, Blair, I really think that you'd benefit if you went on this trip this summer. Please, like, just consider it. So I ended up going, and that was my first real encounter with the Lord in the Eucharist. Awesome. Well, I had one before that too, but I didn't know what was going on. But like at Steubenville, they really set it up well. Yeah. So like, yeah, I'd say that was like a transformative moment for me, and that was whenever I really decided to start at least trying to live out a life for Christ. Yeah. So that like desire, I wrote my thesis on conversion, so like I can get really into like the technicals of it. But I'd say that was my intellectual conversion. Was my freshman year of high school. And I started living out of that, and like we moved to Florida my sophomore year. And that I had a phenomenal high school youth minister that I still love with all my heart, and I look up to that woman more than anything. And she just continued investing in me, giving me leadership positions and stuff. But my senior year, a lot of stuff happened, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, but yeah.
Yeah, it's I think that's, you know, like I want to speak on what you just said there a second ago about how that was like your intellectual conversion, kind of like you would say then describe that intellectual conversion to people who might not know what that means. What you mean by that? Yeah, so basically the thesis of my thesis is that every soul undergoes 3 conversions in order to fully ascend. The first is the intellectual conversion. Normally speaking, this is generally how it goes. So an intellectual conversion is where the mind encounters Christ. My door just like randomly slammed shut. I just had a heart attack. I heard that. I was like, what is going on? I thought the dog like fell off the bed or something. So I was like, oh.
Oh, she's still there, but yeah, okay, anyways. Okay, yeah. So the mind, the soul receives grace, special grace that acts on it and allows for the mind to open up to the truth, and the truth transforms it and properly reorders it. So the intellect begins to desire what is true, and begins to seek truth. Then the second one would be the conversion of the will, where the will. I can't think of another word for it right now.
The Will Smith. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the heart, the
Yeah.
heart of man encounters God in such a profound way that the desires, the appetites. There you go. The appetites of the soul begin to they become reordered properly. So that then the will and the intellect begin to act together, and the person becomes properly ordered. Still, of course, fallen, still prone to sin, but the intellect and the will begin to act together properly and get on the right track for a conversion to happen. The third is sacramental, but that's meh.
Yeah.
Not meh, but we.
What? But yeah, no, I think it's so true, because in our ministry here at my church, we are really diving into the whole idea of small groups, because and big encounter night, monthly encounter nights, because that's the initial conversion, is meeting Christ, period. You can have even if you want to go into the whole Cheryl Waddell's book, Informing Intentional Disciples. If you haven't read that in your ministry,
I think I have it right here.
Yeah, it's mine is right somewhere right here, up in this shelf of books here. But in that book, she goes through this cycle of there's an initial conversion. Initial basically moment where somebody meets somebody who is Christian, who is Catholic, right? And that's the first thing. This a pleasant encounter with a Catholic. So Blair meeting one of the students at a university, and that's, say that person had never met another Catholic before that, and Blair was the first one. And then later on in life, meaning Blair is not the one who's going to bring her to Christ, but then later on, this person meets another Catholic after he or she graduates, and then has this and is invited to go to mass or to something, to adoration that changes their life, and there must be something here, and that is what you're kind of calling the initial, the intellectual conversion. And I think that's something that we are trying to offer for our kids. How many times do we offer that besides our once a year retreat to Steubenville, Florida, right? Or a camp, but we're not even doing those right now. So how can we give that to not just our teens but our parishioners? Because there's a statistic, I forget the study or where it's from, but my DRE was sharing it with us to our catechist, and said 90 some percent of the people who are in the pews on Sundays have not had that initial conversion, that meeting, have not met Christ. And to really be a good Christian, right, we need to have met him in some personal way. And so I think that's why Steubenville, for a lot of us, is our initial moment, is because it gives us that. Because our parishioners are not really offering that. And so that's something we're trying to change, to kind of make that impactful experience within our church, and then build on that in our growth and in our small groups. And so that's why when you hear a lot of testimonies, you hear these testimonies often. If you listen to these regularly, you hear that most of these testimonies, unless it's a convert, their moment of conversion really comes from a a lot of them were born and raised Catholic, but then there was some retreat that they went to that was oh wow, there's God is real, right? And so it's basically that simple formula. Then they started to live a life of Christ. Simple formula, but it's something that is different in every way from every person, for some people it might be the talk, some people might be adoration, for some people, it might be the music. And so having these kind of nights is so important, for not just for retreats, but for your parish in general, wherever you work, if you work in ministry. So providing that in your mission or your ministry, I think, is huge if you really want to change lives and souls. And I think that's why retreats like that work so well and are so famous and well attended. You know, but yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to speak on that because it's so huge and relevant to my life.
Yeah, and you as a high school youth minister, heck yeah.
Yeah, it's true. So then that's when you started to really make your faith your own. What did that feel like? Did you like? What was it? The lifestyle change? Was it like a huge change, or was it just kind of like a soft like? Hey, like I'm just gonna go to confession more or something like that. How was that?
Yeah, at that age, I mean, I hadn't really had an opportunity to do too much
Yeah.
to make it like a dramatic change.
Right.
But the big thing is I just started taking a lot of leadership roles. So I just like really stepped into a leadership position. I started going to daily mass before school. So 7 a.m.
that's
mass,
awesome.
and then I'd go. Yeah. But the big thing was I was like, I needed a friend to run with, and I needed community. And I felt like everyone else like went to youth group, like all they did was like complain about it, or like, you know, like it just, it wasn't, we were in different playing fields basically.
Right.
So I just started praying a lot for a friend that I could run with. And then after about a year and a half, no, it was exactly a year, I met my best friend at Steubenville, Atlanta, who was from the same town, just went to a different high school and a different church. And she's still my best friend to this day. But
That's so awesome.
yeah, like the biggest thing that I needed was community.
Yeah.
And like, thank God he sent Jasmine for that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And the best part about I mean the most real part about Christianity is, I mean, just being a person in general, right? I think we're seeing it now with COVID. We can't do anything alone, right? Like so even introverts are going crazy. Like, I can't take it anymore. Like, you know, it's because we are being so secluded because we are, it's bothering us because we are made for communion, and that's something that's just innate in us. And so even in the spiritual journey, getting closer to our faith, it's so important to have people with you to hold you accountable, to keep you consistent, because otherwise you're not going to get very far on your own will.
Yeah,
Right?
that's why Jesus sent the disciples out in pairs. When he sent them out to evangelize, he sent them out in pairs because they needed that running buddy. They needed another to share the mission with. Like, we can't do anything alone, because of course we need the Lord. But we're not made for isolation. You're so right. We're relational beings.
That's great. And so you guys get to do that with Focus too, right? You guys work in teams of 4 usually, right?
Yes, generally 4, sometimes more depending on the university's need.
That's awesome. And then like sometimes there's couples that are married and are in the same like team, and they count as one. Is that how that usually works?
It depends. Some couples are hired. Married missionaries are getting rarer and rarer, but some couples, one person is hired, and the other is just a affiliate. So they can choose to do full-time mission as an affiliate, or they are not affiliated at all and they just have their own job and live their own life. Then there are other couples where both are full-time missionaries. Both were hired individually, went through the interview process, and then got onboarded.
Right.
So it just depends for married staff.
I think though what you said earlier, I think is the main reason why Focus works so well is because you guys breathe that community into what may an existing community, or you create one wherever you go, wherever the missionaries are taken. And it's a beautiful thing to see. And people always question why Ave had Focus Missionaries, because it's a Catholic school. Why would you need Catholic missionaries there? It's just such a different way of ministering there than it is at a secular university, but it's still necessary. Because, I mean, even at Ave, just being a student, you can just be stuck in complacency there. At any Catholic university. But, like, just speaking to your experience, did you experience that a little bit at all ever there?
Yeah, so that actually leads perfectly into part 2 of my story.
Right. So we'll get into that after this break. Stay tuned. All right, we're back with Blair Harbison. It's like we literally didn't take a break. So we just said we would. So but you guys heard a commercial and everything, but wow, we didn't. So it's just really funny. So Blair, again, is a FOCUS missionary at the University of South Alabama, a friend of mine who was sharing her testimony today. And that's kind of where we left off in the last half of the first half of the podcast, and so I'm just gonna let you pick it up from where you left off. I said, what was the question? How did I pose it? Oh, did you feel like ever at Catholic universities you kind of can get into this place of like complacency, just because it's your faith is all around you. So like, if my faith and school are the same thing, what's my faith alone? What does it look like? And so sometimes you can just be very complacent as beautiful as Catholic University is. It can sometimes cause you to stagnate. I think that's the word. So
Yeah.
Speak on that a little bit.
Yeah. So before getting into that, so like I mentioned, my senior year of high school was rough, to say the least. A friend of mine passed away unexpectedly, and I realized I had never shared the gospel with him, even though we were good friends. And I knew that like he'd never encountered it in his life, and it was because I was scared too. So that kind of hit me hard. And then right around that same time, my mom got really sick. And instead of turning to the Lord, I decided to run every other direction. And my best friend that I mentioned earlier, she had already graduated and had gone on to school elsewhere. So, I was kind of alone, didn't really turn to anyone, and just kind of turned in and started acting out. Made a lot of really bad decisions, all that I learned from, but, sometimes you just wish they had been avoided.
Right.
So I went on to, I had already committed to Ave that previous August, and went on to Ave. Got there and just decided, since everyone seemed perfect, everyone seemed like they had never really like struggled with anything, done anything wrong, and they just love the Lord and levitate in prayer. I just decided that I was going to fake being this perfect Catholic as well, because want to fit in, want to make good friends. So I went through my first semester just really faking it and getting as busy as possible. Yeah. So I didn't have time to sit in silence and pray through where I was actually at. So then that lasted for about a semester. I was making good friends, but not really letting anyone in my heart. And because, like Adrian said, vulnerability. So that January, went to the March for Life. I was, in my attempts of being as busy as possible, I was one of the 2 directors for it. And I went to the cafeteria that night, 3 days before we left, and sat down, and this woman sits next to me, and I was like, "Who are you?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm a FOCUS missionary." And I was like, "You're a what?" And so she explained to me what they did, and I was like, "Oh, cool, I haven't met any of y'all." And I was like, "How long have you been here?" She's like, "I just got to campus 3 weeks ago." It's like, oh, perfect. So you're brand new. You need to meet students. I need a chaperone. Will you go on the March for Life in 3 days? And she's like, sure. So over the course of that trip, her and I just really hit it off and became naturally really, really good friends. And when we got back, I just felt the Holy Spirit put on my heart to share with her my story. Everything that had gone on that senior year that I just hadn't processed, and just be vulnerable. And I was like, no, man, I don't want to do that. And he was like, yeah, you need to. So I texted her, we met up, and I did it, and I cried like a baby because it's the first person I'd shared it with. Wow. And she was like, I can't say that I've been through something similar, but like I get it. And then she shared her story, and I was like, what the heck? So I ended up in discipleship after that, and like Focus was just what I encountered through Focus and through like the method of discipleship was authentic friendship that bled into every aspect of life, and it was a relationship with Jesus that wasn't just it wasn't just in the head, it wasn't just for appearance, it wasn't just for leadership roles, but it was something that like it was literally like prayer became like for like my understanding of it was actually that prayer is the breathing of the soul. Like it is something that's so necessary and so central, and like that relationship with Jesus is vital to living, like to literally living. So yeah, it transformed my life. And but I guess that answered your question of like complacency. Like I definitely faith became a lot of how I was viewed and not what was actually going on in my heart.
Yeah, that's so
on.
awesome because do you want to leave her nameless, or do you want to like? Is it okay if we name this missionary?
Yeah, shout out Stephanie Tudor.
Yeah, she was awesome because she had joined a team that was already established, I believe. Well, also Louis, but they were just such an amazing working team, in my opinion, and I thought very highly of the Focus Missionary team before them, and like I had loved Focus, and I never really became a disciple. Like I didn't lead a Bible study of my own because I had so much on my own plate, but I was like very close friends with them all, and I remember one time like Steph and I went out to just I was doing one of those, like I said, one on a friend date with her, and just kind of heard testimonies, and that was something that kind of started in college, like I said, and yeah, it was just such a beautiful thing to be able to be a part of, to hear. And I got to do that with most of the missionaries. I think except for Anne. Anne and I, we related on our sarcasm rather than anything else. But yeah, so I think that, we've been talking a lot about a Focus, but Focus has, again, like does this friendship and vulnerability thing so well, and I think friendship is the whole heart of it. And so, I'm just kind of still processing what you said of prayer is the breathing of the soul, because that is like amazing. Really great to see. Yeah, so then would you say that was probably the time where your faith was tested the most?
Yeah, that senior year of high school going into first semester of college, and then senior year of college was also a very rough time. But I don't know, I have kind of come to the conclusion that the test is only as hard as we make it.
Explain.
If that makes sense. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Okay. So
It does.
Basically, I like looking back every single time that I feel as though my faith is genuinely being tested, or like I'm really struggling, it's because I'm refusing to allow Jesus to do his thing. I'm trying to do it myself. Out of pride, I am like, like, Lord, like I got this, let me carry this, like I'm going to prove myself to you, it's going to be great. A lot of that probably comes from my sports background, but for me, definitely the hardest times in my life have been whenever I'm trying to carry the cross by myself. Like even Jesus didn't carry his cross by himself all the way to Calvary.
Right.
Which goes back to the importance of community, the importance of Christ-centered friends, the importance of sharing your heart with others and letting them carry that cross with you,
right,
and letting Jesus ultimately carry like the cross.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the end goal is that. Would you say then your relationship that you gained with Stephanie the missionary that you shared your heart with, would you say is what softened your heart into letting you to be comfortable with vulnerability, or slash like letting Christ just really take part of in your life?
Yeah.
Like, would you say that it's a pivotal moment in that?
Yes. Yeah. I would say that like my friendship was definitely changed my life more than anything. Because not only was it the vulnerability that was there, and like, of course, the friendship, but it was the first time I was able to see someone who is living a life fully for Christ and like see every aspect of that life. Like see how her relationship with Jesus transformed every single interaction, like for her. Everything she did, like she strived to make the end goal of it be heaven. Everything, like I'm even like brushing her teeth, I'm sure. Like every little thing was for something greater. Like it was definitely, it was the first time I saw someone living like that, and it made me desire that because like she was so cool too. So I'd say that, and experiencing true vulnerability too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really funny that you mentioned the dental stuff, because I remember Louis, one of the team members, would do flossing, communal flossing is what he called it, and so you wouldn't floss each other's teeth. But
you didn't, or you did?
I didn't. You wouldn't floss each other's teeth, but you would just floss together, like. Like you guys would just talk and floss. That is the weirdest
thing I've ever heard in my life.
I know. It was, we were in Colorado for a mission trip in Denver with the Christ in the City missionaries.
Love Christ in the City.
Spring of my senior year at Ave, and it was like my first mission trip with Focus, and it was a freaking blast. But then like him and Caleb Schleter, I think is his last name, Selector, came out and was flossing. They were flossing each other's teeth, and he's like, you ever just like get sad because you're flossing your teeth and can't talk to anybody? And I was like, Louis, I never think of that. And that was just the comedy bit of it, and he was just like flossing his teeth and talking to Caleb. So I was like, you should here's some floss.
That's the most extroverted thing I've ever heard in my life. Do you ever get sad because you can't talk to people while you're flossing your teeth?
Yeah, it's alright, and that's again just a testament to how awesome they are, no matter how ridiculous they can be.
But can you share the gospel while flossing your teeth?
Oh, hey, 5-minute testimony while flossing. Go. What's your elevated pitch while you're flossing your teeth? Let's hear it. That's awesome. So going back to your the impact of Steph's friendship with you while at Ave, you started discipling. Did that change how you said that you had made friends at Ave and they were good friends, but like had that friendship, that mentorship, that kind of relationship that you guys had, that changed how you've treated your friends, your family? Like, did that was that affected as well?
Yeah, it completely transformed the way that I viewed friendship at every level. Like, I realized that many of the friends, the way I was approaching friendship was almost something that never went beyond just like friendships of pleasure, friendships of convenience, whatever. But when I first experienced like just the concept of discipleship and authentic friendship and the way that Focus presents it, it helped me begin to approach friendships with the mindset of how can we run to like heaven together. Like I said, like I understood that like that's why my friendship with Jasmine in high school was so transformative and so much deeper than any of my other friendships. It was because I viewed that with the same eternal mindset.
Right.
So yeah, like the girls that I worked with in Bible study, the girls that I was leading in discipleship and being led in discipleship, like while I was being led in discipleship at the same time, those Bible study friendships, the girl I discipled, those were the friendships that like I still carry today on a like super deep level, and like especially Megan, like she's like without a doubt one of my absolute dearest friends, and we don't have to talk every day to know that love is still there, and like when we do catch up, like it's automatically right back to where it was because Jesus was the center of it. And like the Bible study that I started, I led a couple, but the Bible study that I started my senior year, it was all freshmen, and those freshmen, I graduated and went on. They banded together. Those became like their closest friends, and then they invited more freshmen into it that following year because they wanted those girls to have the same experience that they had. And like it's still going on now.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's incredible what just a Jesus-centered friendship can do. And like always wanting to share your heart, but also like help build others up in the faith, like with concrete stuff. And like with the end goal of this friendship being to bring others in to a relationship with Jesus.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that we as a church need to adapt to be able to really minister. I mean, like mission work is amazing and it's necessary and for many good reasons, but that same thing needs to happen within our parishes, right? And the parish can't just be a hub for sacraments and it's for adults. It needs to be a place where you can find similar community that you can get with a FOCUS Missionary. You know what I mean? Like, and that would transform our church completely. Or anything, our world, not just the church. Like if we were to were able to implement the FOCUS like formula into our churches or into the world, can you imagine how much of a better world it would be, right? Like obviously it's not. There's still gonna be crooked people and crooked things that would make it hard and stuff like that, But if there was such thing as like true genuine friendship, I don't think trends like about no new friends or like keeping your circle tight would ever be a thing. You know what I mean? And I think that you can keep your circle tight with still being able to evangelize to people.
And that's the goal of Lifelong Mission, is ultimately for the students we work with to go into the parishes and transform their parishes the same way they transform their college campuses.
Right.
Like that's it would literally transform the church if it would transform the church.
Right.
Like
right.
you just
and
said.
that's why
people have that mindset.
I'm such a big fan of FOCUS. I applied to be a FOCUS missionary. For those of you who don't know, I might have shared this on the podcast before, I might not have, but I applied to be a FOCUS missionary because in my senior year, I kind of like, I was all the way like called. I feel like I was called to do youth ministry since I was in college, but like there was this nagging feeling that maybe I should apply, especially because I mean, Nick and Louie were like, you need to apply, and like, I was like, okay, fine, and I did, and I got invited to do the in-person interview, but like they called me a week later after I got back from Philly. They said they'd call us back in 2 weeks, and they called me a week earlier. I was like, oh, okay. So I answered that, and they said, like, Adrian, we think you'd be an amazing missionary, but we think you're called to youth ministry, and we want you to pursue that. And, like, that year, they were, like, low on men. And so, like, they were, like, and, like, after that, they were still, like, promoting, like, hey, it's not too late to apply to be a FOCUS missionary, like, super late into, like, close to the summer. I was like, then why'd you deny me? But I was like, them denying me in the midst of that gained my respect. Even more so. Like, I already had so much respect for FOCUS and their model and what they were doing, and how they were like training their missionaries and really in everything. The NST is huge. It's just huge because I remember like going to parts of those because I was helping AV when they were still having it at Ave, and I would overhear some of the things like, man, this is huge, and like, so high respect already, but then even more so that they're, you know, really praying about those who applied and not just taking anybody who's like remotely close to the Lord, you know. So last thing here I want to ask you through is what are things right now that you know as we go through our journey, we're constantly learning, growing, healing from our wounds and stuff like that, or blah blah blah. What is something that you're still working through right now or learning about yourself?
Everything. Big plug for spiritual direction. It's like the greatest gift in the church, and everyone should have a spiritual director. But lately, like within the past few days, the biggest thing that I've been praying with is deeper trust. But hold on, pause. I need to grab my journal because I like don't know how to word this.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
What I've been praying with lately is what it means to like actually love God. What it means to actually like desire Him. Because this is going to sound kind of bad, but I don't know how else to put it.
Do it.
I've been like kind of annoyed lately with how, wow, this is going to sound really bad. Okay, so it seems like as soon as anyone like encounters the Lord, like all they ever do, like they just desire Him like more and more deeply, or they desire to pray, or they like even the saints, like they just have like this overwhelming like burning desire. The Bible always talks about like longing for the Lord and this and that or whatever.
Yeah.
And I know it's not about feelings, but like trust me, I know that. But I've been like feeling almost like frustrated with the fact that I don't desire to do those things. Like there's no like in me, like I have to like make myself go pray. I have to make myself do this, make myself do that. And I was like, oh my gosh, do I like not love Jesus?
Right.
Because like, you know, like when you're in love with someone, like you desire to spend time with them. It's like, oh crap. So that's been like the biggest thing that I've been praying with and praying through, is for my soul to thirst for Jesus in the way that He thirsts for me on the cross.
It's huge.
And I have like kind of been feeling like a little bit of a turd because I don't have that in me, but it's also given me, like I've been able to go a lot deeper in my heart because of it. And I, in the Magnificat, like 3 or 4 days ago, maybe it was a week ago, but it has this little excerpt from Mother Teresa's prayer. And like talk about someone that loves the Lord. Oh my gosh. She's my girly. Like, in our living room here, there's like 3 different pictures of Mother Teresa. And then in my room, I have like 5 books right behind me of like about her.
I can see her on the bind of one of them.
Yeah, there she is. She's my confirmation saint. I even have a Mother Teresa tattoo. Not of like her face, that'd be weird.
Imagine that right on your like bicep. It's Mother Teresa. Like,
it's just like.
I'm glad it's not her face.
Just like a little wrinkly face. Anyways, okay. Not that I'm insulting Mother's wrinkles, but yeah. So in this like Magnificat reflection passage thing, that's a word for it. It talks about like it's just Mother's writing, and she's like basically praying like, Lord, even though I don't burn for you inside, I know I still love you because I'm choosing to anyway. Like that's basically what it says. And I was like, well, frick, I guess I'm in good company then.
Yeah.
So,
it's true.
Yeah, that's where I'm at presently. But it's the best thing about my job is seeing the fruits of prayer, like so, like profoundly and in like real time. Yeah, like I mean, we plant plenty of seeds that we'll never see the fruits for, but like the tiny little wins, like a person agreeing to come to Bible study, that's like, I don't want to be involved with the Catholic Center, that's weird. Getting involved with it, like getting in on a sports team, that like I'm scared to death of. Getting a text from a student that I've been reaching out to for like 6 months that just ghosts me constantly. Like those little wins, it's just like, it's seeing the fruits of prayer and like watching Jesus transform lives slowly but surely.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
I think you like you're not, like, again, you're in good company, because I feel, I mean, obviously Mother Teresa, but I also feel like it a lot of us who work for the church in some capacity, whether missionary or actually working at a parish, like struggle through that, like separating their own personal prayer and their work, right? Because like I was just talking to some people about this, and we kind of talk about it in next week's episode, which was recorded before this one. We talked about like how, sometimes, like for me as a youth minister, like I'll go put it right out there right now, I don't have a consistent prayer life. I don't have every day for 20 minutes I'm praying. Like there's none of that in my life. It's like I have free time now, I'm going to pray. And that maybe happens a few times a week if I'm lucky. And that's the base of it. Do I go to mass every weekend? Yes. Do I go to a daily mass throughout the week? Yes. Like, but do I put outside of that into my own prayer life? Do I always? No. Do I feel away from the Lord? Also no. Because he's also very part of my life and everything that I do. And not to say that I've mastered, like, letting him be a part of everything that I do, because I'm the perfect Catholic. I don't have that,
it's a lifelong process. Yeah.
But because you see the fruits of what you do, and that where your heart is, that you do love him, even though like I'm not spending every waking moment with him. Like in a way that's very intentional, as I hope
Desire.
to,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So, but I think there's a lot of us who struggle kind of like that, in different ways.
Yeah, and right now I'm reading the book, The Soul of the Apostolate, which, holy crap, everyone needs to read that book. It is the best book ever written. It'll transform your life and wreck you.
What is the name of it?
The Soul of the Apostolate. And the premise of the entire book is that the interior life should become before all else. Our prayer life, our contemplation, our time with God needs to have first precedence before any exterior works can even happen. Because all work that we do comes from God. And if we place exterior works before our prayer life, then we quickly become prideful, because we try to make our exterior works come from ourselves and not him. So yeah, it's such a process to get into that, and I think that is like something that anyone that's in ministry struggles with and struggles through. Like you said, it is it's a process, but like remembering who the source of all the grace is that's the thing, that's the move, that's
the kicker there. And so know if you are struggling through something like that too, you're not alone in it, and it's okay. But as long as our Lord knows our hearts, he knows where it's oriented to, and he knows when it's as well as if it's oriented to the right thing or not. And if it's not, then like there needs to be some sort of change. And I mean, obviously there's always room for growth, so always look for how you can get better. And when it comes to vulnerability, it's great to be vulnerable with people, but first and foremost, you have to, before you can even do that, you have to be able to be vulnerable with yourself, be vulnerable with the Lord. Like, Lord, if I tell my teens all the time, if you don't believe in the Lord, like, go to prayer and be like, God, I don't believe in you. Like, just be real.
Yeah.
Be as vulnerable and real as you can, because there's no reason to sugarcoat or plaster anything. You know what I mean? Like, just because we work for the church doesn't mean we haven't done some heinous things. Doesn't mean we haven't done things that we're ashamed of. I've done a whole laundry list of things that, like, I don't promote. I would never I would never wish it upon anybody to do, but it had happened and I had learned from it, you know. And again, like I think that just goes back. You're not defined by your sins or your mistakes or your failings. You're defined as the beloved son and daughter of God that you are, and you should know that first and foremost. Because if you understand that, if you start to know that, the desire to want to know your Father, kind of overtakes you, letting Him be part of everything. And so,
yeah.
again,
and in the words of Sarah Swafford, we're striving, not perfect.
You're right. Yeah, I have her thing. Like her sticker's literally on my laptop here. It says, "Oh, surrender." It's one of her other stickers, but it says theemotionalvirtue.com. Sarah Swafford. Oh Jesus, I surrender myself to you. Take care of everything. And this is the Surrender Novena by Father Delino Rutulio.
Good old Father Delino Rutulio.
Is that how you say it?
I don't know. I don't know who he is.
I was like, is he famous? I don't know him.
I don't know him.
That's a really good quote. But yeah, so lastly, what is your advice to those people who might be suffering through something like this or something similar to what you grew up with?
Yeah, daily mental silent prayer is crucial.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the biggest thing. It's just like, yeah, daily mental silent prayer is necessary. And just continuing to turn to the Lord and rely on Him. And getting a spiritual director. That's all I got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's huge. Like I haven't seen my spiritual director in since March.
Yeah. Same.
I mean, I've seen him. He's a retired priest at our parish, but he's in the vulnerable population, and so we're not allowed to have one-on-one meetings with him right now. So I can't really do spiritual direction with him, but he's now off on campus like we normally do. But he recently just offered me last week a time slot that I can do on my days off. Go to him. So I'm super excited about that. And honestly, you won't it's not therapy. So if you need to go to therapy, do therapy too. But spiritual direction is also just both. So good. Both and. Spiritual direction is just super helpful to help you orient where God's trying to call you to go deeper. And it's really cool because apparently I'm not close to Mama Mary at all or something. I mean, even though I feel like I'm so close to my mom, to our mom, Father Ray keeps on telling me since probably June of last year to March of this year when we were still doing spiritual director, one of the things he always ended with our spiritual direction sessions was get closer to the Blessed Mother. And it just I thought I did, and I do it again, I get closer, and then I was closer, and I'm what? I was so confused. It kills you, but it's all good because it challenges you, it pushes you.
He's no, you're not hearing me. Closer.
And it's come here closer. Anyway, so definitely do that. Soul of the Apostolate by who?
I have no idea. It's something European. You'll know it when you see it.
I'll link the Amazon link to buy it on the description below. So, that's great.
Heck yeah!
Thanks for being vulnerable, Blair.
Thanks for asking me to be vulnerable.
Yeah,
what a gift.
I think that's literally how I asked you, right? It's hey, you want to be vulnerable and share your testimony on my podcast?
Yeah, that's exactly what you texted me. I was
that's amazing.
Sure? Mark?
That's so great. Well, I thank you, and I also want to affirm you in all that you have done with your missionary, with the people you've been discipling over at Troy, and then even when you're at Ave. Like I think you came in my senior year, so like we only got 1 year fully together, but I like, visited a lot. And I remember after I graduated and then when I came back, I saw like such like just like not a completely different person, but there was just so much like you carried yourself so much differently your second year when I saw you again. And I was like, wow, there's something about Blair. And it's obvious to me now what had happened in your life to cause that kind of change in demeanor. It wasn't like a huge change because you were still Blair, but like there was something about you, the way you carried yourself that kind of seemed to be much more confident in where you were and what you were doing. And obviously that is just reflective of what was happening in your life. So
Thanks, Adrian.
appreciate it. I mean, I appreciate that you were sharing that with you were able to share that with me because now I understand. And so thank you.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. I don't know what to do.
How do I take this? Thank you.
Thanks. Like I said, words of affirmation. I love them, but thanks.
Don't know how to respond. Truthfully though, and also that Blair, I'm part of Blair's mission team. If you want to support Blair as a FOCUS missionary, how can they do that?
That would be a gift. I'll give Adrian my email address. It's blair.harbison@focus.org. And if you're interested, please reach out to me and I'd love to give you a phone call.
She's doing awesome things, and I'm part of her team and contributing. And she shared like this awesome video of all those that she got to work with over at Troy, and I like was at the gym listening to it and like tearing up.
Thank you so much.
Some of the testimonies that they had shared on those videos. So great job. Keep doing work for the kingdom. Thank you for all that you do. And again, if you are interested in helping and supporting, the link, the email, you can email Blair at that email account in the description below. If you're watching on YouTube, it's under her like right now. So like,
oh gosh.
support. It's always important to support those who are on mission, because missionaries are such a gift to the church and super necessary. And hopefully we learn to be like them in our day-to-day lives and be missionaries in our own homes, in our own churches, because it's necessary to have that missionary heart. So thanks for being a missionary, Blair.
Thanks, Adrian, for supporting me.
I try. Literally try.
Literally try.
All right, y'all. If you want to follow Living Ardently, you can follow us at Living Ardently Podcast, Living Ardently on Instagram, and then you can follow me at It's Only Adrian personally. Blair, are you on Instagram anymore?
I deleted all my social media.
So Blair is not longer on social media, but you can still support her on via email.
Send me an email.
Send me an email at blair.harbison@focus.org.
I just got like dive bombed by a fly, but yeah, thank you.
I was wondering, like, did something splatter on you? Like,
that was really gross.
At first, I was
join
like,
my support team and I'll get an exterminator.
But there was a fly in my room. I thought I saw. I was like, oh yeah, I saw that fly. I was about to say that, but then I realized
like
that
I saw goodbye.
in my room. I think there's one in mine too. But yeah, okay, y'all. Thanks again. Make sure you like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Go on Apple Podcasts and leave us a review. Really helpful. Subscribe anywhere else that you're listening. There's the fly that's dive bombing me now.
He just flew right over.
Yeah, he just flew right over through the camera. He's like bilocating.
What a holy fly.
I know, right? Holy smokes. Anyway, God bless y'all. Thanks again for listening. Stay tuned for next week's episode with Jarrell and Haida, Jarrell from The Living Person and Haida from Reliquary Supply, where we do a topical based podcast for the 5th Monday of the month, which we don't plan for, but this is an awesome opportunity to kind of work on this collab together. So yeah, check that out, and stay tuned for some really cool news later this week. If you're listening to this the week of this releasing, if you're listening to this like later in 2020, I hope 2020 is great, but the rest of 2020 is turning out all right. But yeah, God bless you guys. Stay tuned to our Instagram account for some awesome news coming up soon. Otherwise, I think that's it. Any last words, Blair?
Nope.
Nope. Just one. Nope. God bless y'all. God, that thing goes off.
I don't know what to do with myself right now.
Blair, it's just a recording. All right, y'all. Thanks for listening. God bless you guys. And until next week,
keep living ardently. Peace.
Peace. Take 4. God bless y'all.